Hello and welcome to Dice and Demons. I'm Emma, and today we're going to be taking a look at some new rules for Warhammer 40,000 that GW just put out on the Warhammer community page. And I gotta say, as someone who has been trying for a while now to get into 40k, and I kind of enjoy the game, but I also really find it a little bit difficult to sort of really wrap your head around and really get into and just enjoy playing and not feel like it's sort of kind of bookkeepy a lot of the time. I'm actually pretty excited for these new rules. So what they're talking about today is especially the psychic abilities, and also what happens with your morale when you fail, sort of fail a morale test still. But now they have changed it all up. So it says here, the new edition of Warhammer 40,000 makes all the phases count. So that sounds cool. And they are saying that the very basics of the game have been simplified to make the game smoother and faster without losing depth. So again, as someone who really wants to play but find it can be a little bit difficult to really get into it and just really relax and enjoy the game and just have fun. I would quite like the sound of that, I have to admit. I've been playing a lot of Age of Sigmar, which I think is really fun, and I definitely think that is a game system that is somewhat, if not quite a bit easier to get into, and I hope that the 40k might go in that direction as well, especially when it comes to stratagems. Like having 40 stratagems or something, it's just completely overwhelming to someone who is not very skilled and has a lot of experience with the game. So they say here, the turn structure is still the same. One player still takes the first turn to maneuver and fight with all forces at their disposal, and then the second player does the same. So no alternate activation and stuff as you see in other games. I don't think anyone really was expecting that. I think some people were maybe hoping for it, so that you could go more back and forth, but I don't think anyone was really expecting Games Workshop to go in that direction. And they say this is still called the battle round, but 7 phases have now become 5, and both players will now contest each one to the fullest. Okay, so in the command phase, both players muster strategic resources, then you test your unit's battle readiness, and that is going to be the new sort of morale phase also. Then we have movement, shooting, charge, and fight. So that sounds, it's pretty easy to recognize the game still with these phases. And then they write here, here's the headline. The phase structure is broadly the same. You perform admin for the turn ahead in the command phase, then you maneuver in the movement phase, take aim in the shooting phase, charge into melee in the charge phase, and get biffing in the fight phase. Yeah. So what's changed? The psychic phase and the morale phase are now no more. But this doesn't mean that psychic powers and morale are gone. The effects are still very much present, but they've been smartly compressed into the other phases. Let's break it down. And so they go on to explain about the psychic phase. For some players, the likes of the Thousand Sons, Grey Knights, and Eldari, the old-style psychic phase was a technicolor carnival of Empyrean delights. For others, especially the Tau Empire and the Necrons, it was often 10 minutes spent watching your opponent make a bunch of mysterious 2d6 rolls and remove models accordingly. Well, I've been on the receiving end of some of these armies, and I mean, I've played my orcs, and I did have, I think, one weird boy, so I could technically try to deny one as one spell, but I mean, I just removed models. They just sort of rolled dice and pointed at my models, and I removed them from the tabletop. And it wasn't that much fun. I mean, the games were still great, and the people I played with were cool. It's just that it's not that enjoyable just standing around removing models without being able to do anything about it, really. And then they go on to say, this was often unfun and awkward to play around, so now psychic powers are used throughout the other phases instead. Peering into the future for tactical insights, that's an ability for the command phase. Paralyzing foes with hypnosis, you'll do that in the fight phase. Tossing around Eldritch Lightning, that's a ranged attack used in the shooting phase alongside any regular guns you may be carrying. Okay, and then they give an example of the new Terminator Librarian, which looks like it's a really cool model, by the way. They released that yesterday. And he can unleash his smite in the shooting phase, and each time he does so, you can choose to manifest either a controlled mental burst or a recklessly powerful psychic onslaught that may backfire thanks to the hazardous weapon ability. So do we know what a hazardous weapon ability does? It has a small asterisk. Plasma lovers will be familiar with this effect, which kills the shooter or inflict mortal wounds for characters and big models on an unlucky roll. Okay, so this is basically sort of the equivalent also of something that could happen to the Skaven in Age of Sigmar. I like that. I mean, hazardous weapon ability. It's just... I always like when you have to make a choice. This is probably relatively simple. It says here... you can see it has two smite powers. One is called Smite Witchfire, and it has a 24-inch range, a d6 attack, ballistic skill 3+, strength 5, AP -1, and damage d3. But then you can also do Smite Focused Witchfire, which is then it inflicts devastating wounds. I'm not sure what that is. And then it has this hazardous weapon ability. So it still has the same range, the same number of attacks, the same ballistic skill, but the strength goes up to 6 and the AP goes up to -2, and then the damage is still d3. So then it becomes a point of, having to make a choice. Is it worth it or not? Do I really, really want to get through a model with a little bit extra strength and a little bit extra AP? I want to play it safe and then just hope for the best with the attacks that I do get through. I like that. When you have to make a choice, and this is an actual choice you have to make. It's not something, I don't think it would. I don't know, as I said, I'm not that experienced of a player, but to me it doesn't seem like there is one that is obviously way better than the other. One attack is better, but then it also has this ability to backfire on you. So yeah, I like that. Making choices, and it's easy to understand, and it's easy to it's easy to learn, hard to master, perhaps. I quite like that. It sounds fun. And also, it's just, to me at least, it's just fun whenever you can blow up your own models. There's just something hilarious about that. Okay, then it says here, Psychers are more than just brain-based artillery, however. He also boosts any Terminator squad he's leading, twisting the veil of time to grant their attacks the sustained hits ability. Each Space Marine librarian brings their own flavor of psychic chicanery to battle. Okay, cool. So yeah, now characters can jump in and lead a unit instead of just granting, for instance, like general aura abilities. Then you can put them in a single unit, and that's the unit that they can give all sorts of cool effects to, like rerolls and stuff. Then we have the Orc Weird Boy, which I'm particularly interested in because, as I said, I have an Orc army. The Orc Weird Boy, on the other hand, can't be bothered with anything so quotidian as a gun. But his Ed Banger shooting attack grows in power and volatility according to how many boys he has in his entourage. Okay, so he has a ranged weapon called Ed Banger, which is a lovely name, of course. Range 24, 1 attack. Okay, ballistic skill 4, which is, that's decent for orcs, at least right now. Strength 6, AP -3, damage 1. Okay, so, it's not the best attack, especially because it only has 1 attack and 1 damage. But then it says here, while this model is leading a unit, add 1 to the strength and damage characteristic of this model's Ed-Banger weapon for every 5 models in that unit, rounding down. But while that unit contains 10 or more models, that weapon has the hazardous ability. Okay, so if he's leading a unit of 30 boys, he has, it would be then times 6 or... Yeah, so you had like strength 12 and damage 7 or something. But still only, and then it has this hazardous ability, so he could sort of just unleash his own weapon on himself. Which I think is very okay. They do take all sorts of weird chances. Then he can also do the jump, which is the orc's teleportation spell, basically. And it says here, his the jump power fires at the end of the movement phase, allowing you to teleport his lads somewhere more deadly, assuming his brain doesn't explode from the stress. Well, I think orcs do have limited capacity for thinking and perhaps also for casting spells, so that sounds reasonable. It says here that jump psychic once per turn at the end of your movement phase. One weird boy from your army can use this ability, so no stacking up on weird boys. I mean, you could do it, but you can't sort of jump your entire army, I guess. If it does, roll 1d6. On a 1, that weird boy's unit suffers d6 mortal wounds. Oh, ouch. I hope you can re-roll that one. On a 2+, remove this weird boy's unit from the battlefield and set it up again anywhere in the battlefield more than 9 inches away from any enemy models. Okay. Yeah, okay, so it's no longer a spell we have to, I can't remember, is the casting value is 7 or something with 2d6, and now you have 1d6, and it's on a 2+ that it works. So it's definitely easier, but then if it fails, it can actually really hurt you if you are unlucky enough to first roll a 1 and then a 6. Ouch. But yeah, that's cool. I do like the jump. It's I'm not, as I said, I haven't played 40k that much, but there's just something so satisfying about jumping, 20 orc boys onto your enemy's backline. It's just fun. Yeah. Again, don't take any tactic advice from me, because I usually end up being tabled. Though I have managed to win some games purely on points, because I've had like units of grots hiding out on midfield objectives, and no one has bothered shooting them until they had actually gathered up a whole bunch of points and stuff. But yeah, I usually get all my boys killed quite early on. Okay, and then we come to the morale phase. Morale is even simpler. That sounds good, because as an orc player, as I said, my boys get shot off the table really, really quickly, and so they are also very prone to failing morale tests. So apparently it's even simpler. That all gets sorted in your command phase when you take battle shock tests for any units that have taken enough losses. And they say it's super simple. Roll 2d6 for every unit that's below half strength. That means they're a squad with less than half of their starting models, or a single model with less than half of their starting wounds. Oh, okay, so a single model also needs to take battle shock test. Huh. Okay. I wonder if that also goes for like really big models such as a knight or your warlord. Can your warlord be, I don't know, too afraid to work properly? I don't know. That's okay. A single model with less than half of their starting wounds. Okay, so everyone is apparently someone who can be, well, afraid in battle, I guess. It makes sense. I would be terrified if I were to be anywhere near a battlefield in 40k for real. You'll need to roll equal to or above your new leadership characteristic. If you fail, that unit suffers some nasty penalties until your next turn. Okay. Battle shock. In this step, you must take a battle shock test for each of your units. If there is to do so, roll 2d6. If the result is greater than or equal to the best leadership characteristic in that unit, the test is passed. Okay, so now you want to roll like high numbers on your leadership test. That did not used to be the case. Otherwise, the test is failed, and until the start of your next command phase, that unit is battle shocked. While a unit is battle shocked, the objective control characteristic of all of its models is 0. Oh wow, okay. It's just so afraid. If it falls back, you must make a desperate escape test for every model in that unit. I'm not sure exactly what the desperate escape does. Its controlling player cannot use stratagems to affect that unit. Okay, so they're just like, they're completely out of it and panicked, and you can't yell at them and give them orders. I think that, and they're not very concerned about grabbing onto an objective. I actually think it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it says here, with this change, morale is no longer just a casualty multiplier. Like psychic powers, Battle Shock now impacts every other phase of the game, shaping how you use your units and rewarding players who can keep their army in fighting order. So that's really bad news for me. As I said, all my stuff just dies really quickly. But, I mean, I'm not a competitive player by any stretch of the imagination, so it's not that big of a deal. From transports to terrain rules, there's loads more to see in the new edition, so stay tuned, blah blah. Okay, cool. So I think, okay, so it says here that the unit is battle shocked, but it's only for one turn, right? Until the start of your next command phase, that unit is battle shocked. Okay, so it's for one turn. Okay. Interesting. So you have sort of you can be lucky enough, I guess, to roll better next time, and then they are de-panicked and will work again. I think this sounds interesting, actually. I never really liked the idea that you just took away models just because they were, lost a morale test. That was not particularly fun. I mean, yeah. But this sounds like something that can really make or break a game or your tactics for a game. If you have some models standing on an objective and it's a really important objective, and then they are suddenly battle shocked, then you really need to have a very flexible tactical plan, like a plan B, I think. But it's cool. Yeah, I'm really excited to see how it will work out. Also with the psychic abilities, I think it sounds fun. I like the idea of the hazardous weapons, because anytime you can blow your own models to pieces, it's just fun. I'm not sure how much it's going to change when you're, for instance, playing against something like Thousand Suns that have a bunch of psychic powers. I mean, then they'll just, instead of rolling all those dice and getting you to remove your models from the table in the psychic phase, they're just perhaps now going to do it either in the shooting phase or the melee phase, and you probably can't do much about it either there, it looks like. But yeah. Oh wait, you actually can, because now at least the smite, for instance, is a ranged weapon, and so it has, you get to roll a save at least. So you are actually participating a little bit more with that as well. I like that. That's really nice. Cool. So yeah, that was some new rules for Warhammer 40,000. Let me know what you think. Are you excited for the new edition? Do you think it is nice to have it sort of streamlined a little bit, or are you afraid that it's going to lose some depth? Do you like the crunchiness of actually standing there with your 40 stratagems and coming up with the best combinations, or do you think it'll be cool to have a game that might be a little bit easier for newer players to get into? Let me know what you think, and I'm excited to see where this goes, and I'm definitely up for trying it out when it comes out. So yeah, sounds cool, sounds exciting, sounds like the morale phase is going to just make all my boys very, very afraid. But I guess, I'll probably then have to actually come up with a plan for not getting them shot off the table immediately. Yeah, sounds like something I need to do for a 10th edition, perhaps. So anyways, let me know what you think, and until next time, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again. Bye.